Opening. Have you ever heard of asuras, the power-seeking beings of Hindu mythology? As the sun dips below the horizon, a veil of mystery descends over a remote, ancient village. Nestled deep within the foreboding embrace of a dense forest, it is a place where the line between the natural and supernatural blurs, where the echoes of the past still resonate through the air. This is not an ordinary village. Its history is steeped in whispers of power and protection, of a pact made centuries ago with an entity not of this world, an asura. You see, in Hindu mythology, asuras are often portrayed as rivals to the devas, the gods themselves. They are associated with traits such as jealousy, pride, and an insatiable thirst for power. And it is with such a being that the villagers made their pact. The villagers, in their quest for protection and prosperity, invited the asura into their lives. They welcomed its power, striking a deal that would forever alter the course of their fate. But the pact was not made lightly. It was a desperate measure, born from a time of strife and hardship, a gamble against the future, against their very souls. Yet, as the years turned into decades, and decades into centuries, the memory of the pact faded. The villagers lived their lives, oblivious to the ticking time bomb that lay hidden within their shared past. The asura, once their protector, was now a forgotten whisper, a shadow of a tale told to frighten children into obedience. But as we all know, the past has a way of catching up. And in this ancient village, the past was about to make a chilling, horrifying return. Closing. Unbeknownst to the villagers, their pact with the asura would soon unleash a horror beyond their darkest nightmares. As days turned into weeks, the villagers began to disappear, one by one. The once vibrant and bustling village started to feel like a ghost town, the silence only interrupted by the rustling of leaves and the occasional hushed whisper. Each dawn brought not the promise of a new day, but the dread of another disappearance. In the heart of the village, where the cobblestone streets met, a chilling spectacle greeted the villagers each morning. Where a villager had vanished, a cryptic symbol was left behind, etched into the stone with an eerie precision that made the blood run cold. The symbols were grotesque and alien, their shapes twisting and turning in ways that seemed to defy the natural order. The villagers shared glances of fear and confusion as they huddled together, whispering theories and hushed prayers. Their eyes darted nervously to the edges of the forest, half expecting a monstrous figure to emerge from the shadows. The once comforting routine of village life had been replaced with a palpable sense of dread, a dread that clung to the air like a damp fog, chilling the bones and clouding the mind. Each disappearance added to the mounting fear. The blacksmith, known for his booming laugh and larger-than-life presence, was gone. The baker's wife, who sang lullabies to the village children, had vanished. Their absence left gaping holes in the fabric of the village, their memories echoing in the empty streets. As the sun set, casting long, ominous shadows across the village, the villagers retreated to their homes, bolting their doors and whispering prayers to gods they hoped were listening. The darkness seemed to swallow the village whole, the only light coming from the flickering candles in the windows, casting an eerie glow on the cryptic symbols etched into the stone. The symbols were a chilling reminder of the ancient pact and the wrath of the asura. As the moon rose high in the night sky, the villagers huddled in their homes, waiting for dawn, and praying they would not be the next to vanish. Dread filled the air as the village elders decided to perform a desperate ritual. The village, once a place of vibrant life and community, was now a theater of horror and dread. The elders, their faces etched with lines of worry and fear, gathered the remaining villagers in the heart of the village. Their mission? To perform a ritual, desperate and dangerous, in an attempt to appease the malevolent asura that loomed over them. The ritual was steeped in forbidden practices, a remnant of a darker time when the villagers sought power and protection through a pact with the asura. The air crackled with tension as the villagers gathered, watching with wide, fearful eyes as the elders prepared the ritual. The flickering light of the fire cast long, grotesque shadows on their faces, the flames dancing in their eyes as they recited ancient incantations, their voices a low, haunting drone. As the ritual progressed, the sense of dread grew palpable. The once familiar faces of the villagers seemed distorted, their expressions twisted in fear and desperation. The elders, their voices growing louder, pleaded with the asura, their words echoing through the silent village, bouncing off the ancient stone walls, seeping into the very earth beneath their feet. The ritual was not one of celebration or joy, but of desperation and fear. It was a plea, a cry for mercy, an attempt to quell the wrath of a powerful, vengeful being. The villagers, once a thriving community, were now a group of terrified individuals, clinging to the hope that their desperate acts might save them from the terrifying fate that seemed to await them. The night was filled with whispers of the past, of a pact made centuries ago, a pact that was now coming back to haunt them. The villagers, their hearts pounding, their breaths coming in short, sharp gasps, could do nothing but watch as the elders continued their desperate attempts to appease the asura. But as the ritual progressed, they could feel the presence of the asura growing stronger. The shadows seemed to move, the wind seemed to carry whispers, and a chilling sense of dread filled the air. The asura was awakening, and the horror was only beginning. In the midst of the horror, an outsider found himself inextricably linked to the village's fate. A stranger to these parts, he had stumbled upon the village purely by chance, drawn by the eerie allure of the ancient forest. Little did he know that he was stepping into a centuries-old nightmare. This outsider, our protagonist, was no hero. He was a man of science, of logic, a man who sought answers. And the vanishing villages, the cryptic symbols, the palpable dread hanging in the air. These were all puzzles to be solved. He was driven by curiosity, yes, but also by a growing sense of responsibility. He had seen the fear in the villagers' eyes. He had heard their desperate pleas to the unseen. He could not turn away. His quest for the truth led him down a path few dared to tread. He delved into ancient texts and forbidden lore, seeking answers in the dusty pages of history. He listened to the village elders' hushed tales of a pact with a power-seeking asura, of protection bought with a terrible price. He scoured the forest, following the trail of the vanished, tracing the eerie symbols etched into the bark of ancient trees. The deeper he delved, the more the horror escalated. Shadows seemed to move on their own, whispering voices echoed in the stillness, and nightmares began to bleed into reality. But the outsider pressed on, driven by a grim determination. The villagers were counting on him. He could not fail. He was getting closer to the heart of the mystery, the source of the curse. The tension was palpable. Every creak of a branch, every rustle of leaves, every whisper of the wind seemed to carry a warning, a threat. But the outsider remained undeterred. He was on a quest for the truth, no matter how horrifying it might be. The truth, however, was far more horrifying than he could have ever imagined. The asura's curse wasn't just a tale spun by fearful villagers. It was real. And it was far more terrifying than anything the outsider had ever faced. But he was in too deep now. There was no turning back. The time had come for the ultimate confrontation with the awakened asura. The air was thick with the palpable dread that clung to every corner of the ancient village. The asura, a figure of otherworldly terror, loomed over the frightened villagers, its rage echoing through the shrouded forest. Shadows danced as the villagers, armed with little more than ancient knowledge and sheer desperation, faced off against the asura. Their hearts pounded in their chests, a chilling symphony of fear and determination. Each second stretched into an eternity as they battled not just the asura, but the very curse they had invited upon themselves. The confrontation was nothing short of harrowing, a grotesque ballet of horror and courage. The villagers were no warriors, yet they stood their ground, their eyes reflecting a grim resolve. Their struggle was a testament to their will to survive, to right the wrongs of their ancestors. In the face of the malevolent asura, the villagers were forced to confront their own fears and their past mistakes. As the dust settled, the villagers were left to grapple with the aftermath of their confrontation. The eerie silence that followed the climactic showdown felt more like the quiet before a storm rather than a relief. The asura's curse, it seemed, was far from lifted. The outsider, now entangled in the village's dark past, had glimpsed the true cost of power. It was a price paid in fear, sacrifice, and a haunting curse that refused to be broken. The villagers were left to ponder on the nature of the power they had sought centuries ago. Was it a blessing, or was it a curse? In their quest for protection, had they invited a far greater evil into their midst? The thin line between good and evil had blurred. The haunting tale of the asura's curse serves as a chilling reminder of the dangers of seeking power at all costs.